Should Christian women still cover their heads in worship? In some churches, this is non-negotiable. I'd like you to give me some minutes because this will be educating, revealing, and exegetical. And you don't want to miss this. So what exactly did Paul mean in 1 Corinthians chapter 11? Let's take a clear, honest journey. The Old Testament Hebrew background, the Corinthian cultural world, to the exact Greek words that Paul used. Stay with me because I want to hear your conclusion at the end of this matter. Is this a timeless command or a cultural instruction? In the Old Testament scriptures, covering was not just fashion. It carried symbolic weight. In Numbers chapter 5 verse 18, during the test of the ritual of unfaithfulness, the priest with pararosh isha, literally uncovering the woman's head. That means that covering is a sign of dignity, while an uncovered head exposes shame. If a priest wants to publicly disgrace a woman for unfaithfulness, all he needs to do is to just publicly uncover the head. In Songs of Solomon chapter 4 verse 1, the beloved's veil, the tishma, is part of beauty and intimacy, a sign of honor. The border ancient Near East, married women veiled their heads as a sign of respectability. To go unveiled in the public was often seen as a sign of an outsider or a prostitute. Even before we got into the New Testament, head covering carried a theological meaning, avoid which is glory, modesty, and status. Let's shift to Corinth, a Roman port city, buzzing with trade, temples, and cults. And like every port city, as in Lagos, London, Onitsha, like these are always seedbeds of cultural and religious implosions. In Roman society, high-status women covered their heads in public. Slaves and prostitutes are unveiled. When Paul speaks about veiling and uncovering, he was not writing in vacuum. He was writing in a context. He was writing into a culture where hair, veil, and headship were loaded symbols. To be unveiled in Corinth implies shame, looseness, and even pagan worship. To the text, 1 Corinthians 11, 4 and 5. Every man praying or prophesying with his head covered dishonors his own head. And I now know guys wear caps to church in service. That's another issue for another day. And then in verse 5, it says, every woman praying or prophesying with her head covers dishonors her head. Paul uses the verb kata, which means to cover, veil, and conceal. And then in verse 10, he introduces the enigmatic word exousia, often rendered as sign of authority. What did Paul mean? Was he laying down a universal ordinance? Was he correcting a situation in the Corinthian church? So too many interpretations have stood over the centuries. I'll show them to you. One view states that this is a timeless command, that Paul was teaching according to the creative order, as seen in verse 8 and verse 9 of the same scriptures. Man first, and then women to follow. And he appeals even to angels in verse 10. If angels observe worship, veiling is transcultural. They therefore hold that the instruction applies to churches across all ages. And then there is the second school of thought that believes that this is a cultural instruction. That Paul's main concern was exousia, which I interpret to mean honor, and avoiding shame in the specific Corinthian setting that he addressed in this verse. Thus they stated that it is about modesty and order, which also is timeless, but the veil itself is cultural. Both views take Paul very seriously. I checked and I discovered that both views appeal to the text. What leaves us with a question: is this binding till today? So let's bring all of this together. The Old Testament ties head covering to dignity and marital honor. The Corinthian culture ties it to status and pagan associations. It ties it to both creation theology and cultural symbols. What's the principle? Worship must reflect honor. modesty, and the creation order. And how should we practice this? Whether veiled or not depends on what communicates honor in your culture. So should women cover their heads today? The scripture is clear in principle. Honor in worship. But the practice of veil or unveiled depends on cultural meanings. So let me ask you, is head covering a timeless mandate for Christian women? The first century Corinthian practice. That's our thoughts in the comments, and I'll try to interact with every comment. But please, as we drop our comments, let's do it very respectfully. If you're not following me, I don't know why.